makes me feel like a man.
You want every team to lose any other game? Sorry. Bailey Zappi just do another time. You know what? Whoa, time out. Are you kidding? That's what I'm gonna try to drop a mic. I'm Kyle, joined by my brother Keenan, joined by my guy Tim, joined by original Warner Brothas Podcast guest, Branndon Petty. Welcome back, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
I haven't seen you since we were I was throwing headphones because you decided to take Kaylani from me.
Heated moment on the show for sure.
Oh, I was heated.
Sorry,
I didn't think he was gonna take him. I was like, I'd take her. It's like, let me get Kaylani. No, don't you do that. But that music's not why we're here. We're here because it's the NFL playoffs, guys, and I couldn't be more excited. Timmy, how are you?
Doing good. Ready to talk.
Absolutely.
Ready to chat.
Yeah.
Divisional weekend. So Keenan,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get right into it. Actually, you know what? I do got a couple questions for Branndon. We talked a little Jags before you got on, Keenan.
Okay.
And Branndon, just general question here: Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson. What do you think about those two? That's what I want to know.
I think so. I know we had this conversation. I had some opinions on Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's bust by any means necessary. I think the issue with him is that he was labeled generational. And when you sell a product as generational, you expect certain results. You look at Herbert, Burrow, Josh Allen, guys like that going from their third year into their fourth year, they were kind of all pro players, if not, they were like a step away from that. I don't think he's there. He's not the MVP caliber quarterback that we all thought he was going to be, and that we kind of hope so. And then with Doug Peterson, like I was saying earlier, the team's just not ready to play week in and week out. You drop 4 or 5 games straight to Cleveland, Cincinnati. You lose to a Tennessee team that was a 5-win team. I think Doug Peterson's part of the issue as well. I think he needs to let go of Press Taylor. Press Taylor's got to go. We got to get more out of the offense. The offense is super stagnant. Calvin Ridley showed up one game and disappeared the next game. I think they need to retool, and I think Press Taylor's got to go. And if he doesn't, if Doug doesn't want to fire him, then Doug Peterson can go too. We can go find somebody else that'll right the ship.
Do you think they'll at least make a leap to be a serious team, a less undisciplined team, right? Because to me, they didn't make much of a leap from their playoff season. The fuck? I don't know why Siri's trying to talk to me, but
I found this on the
web. I didn't see much of a change from their first year where they made the playoffs to this year as far as undisciplined. They still seem like that young team. Do you see them actually becoming disciplined next year? Because they fired their DC. I didn't think the DC was the problem. Like you said, they keep Press Taylor. So do you see the mistakes at least going away and they can at least be a cleaner team?
Not really, because like I said earlier, I think how a team performs is based on the head coach. If the head coach lacks discipline, with a practice schedule, with cleaning certain things up in practice, then it's going to be a continuous problem. That was something all year, missed tackles, penalties. It was just something from week 1 to the last week of the regular season. It was something that plagued them all year long. So I think it starts at the top with Doug. And if he can't correct that, then it's going to be one of those things that we're going to see again next year. Missed tackles and penalties and just boneheaded plays and mistakes.
I'll say this. We talked prior on this podcast, before the season, and you had reasonable expectations for him, playoffs, maybe divisional round again, but you weren't saying AFC Championship. You weren't saying MVP for Trevor Lawrence. Some people might have even had them as dark horses in those type of categories. So I'll say you at least had tempered expectations. I won't ask you about next year yet. We got plenty of time since then, but we've had a lot of news drop. Specifically, we were talking about this a little bit that really caught my attention. Keenan, I don't know if you saw this. Mike McCarthy's back in Dallas.
I read the thing that Jerry Jones had put out. I I saw it at like maybe 12:30 a.m. I saw Ian Rappaport put it out, and then I skimmed through it, and I was like, okay, they're running it back. All right, that's cool.
What did he say in his statement exactly? Because I didn't see it. I saw the notification. I didn't actually see what
it
Jerry
was.
said.
I can bring it up, but it was basically along the lines of, there is not another coach that I'd want with this team. We're going forward with Mike McCarthy. We feel like he gives us the best chance to win. We just, as a leader, basically he was just complimenting Mike McCarthy as a leader, as a coach, as a person, and there's no one else he would want coaching the Cowboys at the moment. Essentially was like consensually with that.
The best Jerry Jones quote that I've seen recently, I don't know if y'all saw this, but he was just at some general press conference before the postseason, and he said he wanted to return to the glory hole days, not the glory days. He said he was really looking forward to returning to the glory hole days, and he repeated that a few times. So I don't know. Between that and him having Dolly Parton doing halftime at Thanksgiving, I think Jerry Jones has been OD horny. So maybe that's what's wrong with the Cowboys. I don't know. Who the hell knows? But
yeah,
everyone's serious about Jerry Jones over here.
No, sorry. I was looking just for a quote from one of those. I believe this team is very close and capable of achieving our ultimate goals, and the best step forward for us will be with Mike McCarthy as our head coach. There is a great benefit to continuing the team progress under Mike's leadership as our head coach. That was just one of the small quotes from it. I was just trying to find that.
Wow.
But yeah, so he's all in on Mike McCarthy, and I don't think Mike McCarthy is a bad coach. When you go through his statistically, he compares to Mike Tomlin, he compares to Sean Payton. But I just think there's a time, even when you are a good coach, that you underperform, you can get fired from your job. If I do a bad job where I am, you can get fired for doing a bad job. 12-5, that's cool and all, but we're not counting regular season championships. We're not counting NFC East titles. They want at least an NFC championship game. They want Super Bowl appearances, and they can't get out of the divisional. They can't even get out of the wild card. You talk about that, but yeah. So Kyle, where were you initially going to start? Because you were about to ask me something, and I'm intrigued.
So I was gonna say, you have your 8 list, 6 to 8 lists that you have.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we should start with the actual games and then end with the list.
Absolutely.
Because, in case the lists run long. So yeah, let's get into the games. And we can go right in order, honestly. We can go Texans at Baltimore. I do have a general question. Keenan, you can give us the line and all that, but I have a general question after you give us the line for this game.
All right. So this is via FanDuel. The line for this game, I'm pulling it up right this second. The line for this game is Baltimore favored by 9.5.
So my question for you guys is, fellas, Baltimore, one of their most impressive stats, I don't have the exact stat, but they just held the lead a remarkable amount the entire year.
They've also held the lead in every fourth quarter of every game this season. That's another stat to bolster that.
Very true. So do you think it's more likely that they go into the halftime with the lead, or do you think, much like the last time they had the first round bye, they're rusty and the Texans have the lead? You don't have to give me your outcome, but I want to hear about at least that first half. Do you think Baltimore starts off sloppy? Do you think they're rusty? Or do you think they punch Texans in the mouth?
Timmy, you start.
I think we'll see a little bit of rust. I think it'll be a pretty competitive first half. I don't necessarily think they're going to punch them in the mouth, but if they do, I think the Texans will probably punch right back, make it at least a one-score game at halftime.
Brandon, what about you?
I think Baltimore's going to be ready to go. I mean, hearing Lamar Jackson talk all week, he's definitely fired up. I think they're going to come out sharp. I think they're going to look to run the ball, and I think they're going to. I could see a 10-point lead, maybe a 2-touchdown lead going into halftime.
Okay, so you think the regular season trend continues? Keenan, what you got?
So I see a close game. I think that the Ravens can be leading. I also think that the Texans can be leading at halftime. There's a thing for sitting out for almost a month. So obviously they played the 49ers, beat them 33-19. Then they played the Dolphins. I believe that was 56-19. Then they didn't play against the Steelers. They didn't play last week. Their starters, that is, more specifically Lamar Jackson. Didn't play against the Steelers. Didn't play last week. And now is going into this. Hasn't played football in about 21 days. So it's like last time we saw him, as you said, against the Titans. This is off a unanimous MVP. They looked like they were rolling. They were the 1 seed. They got rusty. And I just feel, I mean, this team, I feel like is better than that team overall, but at the same time, I'm a little nervous because Lamar is a rhythm quarterback. Absolutely. And I feel like keeping him in rhythm, especially off of a best win of the season over the 49ers, best game of the season, perfect passer rating, into keeping him rolling, I would have at least played him first half.
So I feel a few different ways about it. I lean towards where Tim thinks this game's going to go. I think the Texans are going to have a bit of momentum in the first half. Mm-hmm. Could be a touchdown lead going into the half, could be 10 points, could be 3 points, but I do think they'll be the more in rhythm team for sure. I do think, like, the score that's in my head, the final score I'm going to propose to you is 34-24 Ravens. I think they take control of the second half. But what I'm struggling with is the weather's crazy everywhere. Branndon lives in Jacksonville, and he said it's like 20 degrees there. I've heard there's going to be high winds in this game. It very well could be not high winds in this game. I've heard 35, 40 mile per hour winds, but we've seen the case where that doesn't always live up too. So if it is, an inclement weather game, who would you favor in that game? Because Texans do kind of have a running game. Ravens do have a run defense. I would lean towards Ravens in that case. Do you have Ravens big if it's a low weather game? Bad weather game, I should say, or what kind of matchup would you have in that case?
Tim, you start, and then Branndon, you go after him.
If it becomes a weather game where you just can't throw the football, like you're talking 40-mile-an-hour winds here, you got to favor the Ravens. We've definitely seen them win games just by running the ball. Look at Seattle and Detroit. They dominated on the ground in those games, and they won by 40 points. So I would definitely favor the Ravens there. I'd be a little bit worried about the Texans offense. Devin Singletary can definitely run the ball pretty well, but without CJ throwing for 250, I don't know exactly what that offense is going to look like. But I can totally see a path where the Ravens rush for 300 yards between Lamar and all their running backs. So I would definitely favor the Ravens. At that point, probably double digits, probably about 15 points, I'd say.
I like it. Brandon, what you got?
I actually agree with that. I think with Lamar using his legs, and then they're going to be using Dalvin Cook a lot as well too, apparently, from what Jim Harbaugh was saying. And I mean, they've got a stable of 3 running backs that they're going to be able to rotate in and out and keep fresh. And Houston doesn't have the best rushing defense. They have a pretty decent rushing defense, but it's not enough to where you worry that, Baltimore's not going to be able to run the ball. Baltimore's been able to run the ball against anybody. So I think if it turns into that, I think Baltimore's going to out-physical them, and I think Baltimore's just going to be able to kind of run at will. And I think at that point it could get pretty ugly pretty quickly if Houston can't stop the run.
So I think that you'd have to favor the Ravens. I mean, they've been the best rushing attack over the last half decade, pretty much with Lamar being there, because he's such a threat to get 100, 150 yards rushing that you have to respect people like Gus Edwards, who's making them into viable running backs. Not that Gus isn't talented at all, but he wouldn't be as good without Lamar. If the Gus does get down to that, CJ Stroud's going to have to go back about a year plus, and remember how he played against Georgia and how he utilized his legs in that and run like that. Because CJ, a lot of the time, kind of like more Lamar does now, but a lot of the time he's rolling out and he's only looking to throw. I think there's going to be times where he needs to utilize his athleticism because he's more athletic than he's showing. He can get you 15 yards. He can get you 18. He maybe even get you 20 depending on how the defense is set up. And with Nico Collins being over the top, but Dalton Schultz is going to be seeing a lot of Roquan Smith All-Pro. He's going to be seeing a lot of Kyle Hamilton All-Pro. That defense has now All-Pros all over it. So Marlon Humphrey is going to be out, which is going to be big. So Nico possibly could have a good game that wise. But if it is a rushing game, I would absolutely favor the Ravens. I think 10, 14 point win would not be out of the question at all.
It's kind of crazy that the Ravens have continued this rushing attack all year. Like, no matter who the back is, it seems like they can throw whoever. Like Branndon said, they got Dalvin Cook coming in. Mark Andrews, full participant the other day at practice. Don't know if he's playing this week. It's trending that way for sure. Definitely would play in the AFC Championship game if that were the case. I just looked up the weather. It's going to be sunny, 24 degrees in Baltimore on Saturday, but gusts up to 35 miles per hour. And the wind in general is going to be around 15. So could be a factor, could not. I agree with y'all. If it is like truly a cold and windy game, yeah, I would favor Baltimore for sure, and Baltimore big. In general, though, what's everyone's score here? Tim, we'll start with you. What do you got for a final score?
I'll take the Ravens 30-20.
All right, Branndon, your score?
I'm going to go Baltimore 35-21.
I've got the Ravens winning this game 28-20. I do think they come out a little rusty first half. I think Texans get up early, but then that defense is just too much.
I'm going to stick with 34-24. So we're all kind of in the same ballpark here. So we all got Baltimore going to the AFC Championship game. Hopefully that's not the kiss of death for them. It'd be cool to see the Texans there. But I do think there is a level of veteranness that comes with these type of games, right?
Yeah.
It's not like Wild Card Weekend. I compared Wild Card Weekend last episode to like March Madness now, it feels like. It feels like anybody can win or lose on that weekend. Divisional round, it's higher class football. It really is. You could argue, Keenan,
Elite Eight
you were saying
basketball.
last episode. Yeah. You were saying last episode, this is your best weekend of football, all year. You're going to have 4 good games, 2 good teams in each matchup, seemingly. So, I don't know. Let's move on to the Niners and Packers. What do y'all think about that? I'm just going to come out and say it. I think the Niners smack the Packers. I know we just said these are 4 quality games, but I do think the Packers get blown out here. I'll give you my final score right now, 37-21.
Okay. So hold on. I just want to ask before Timmy and Branndon go, and then I'll go afterwards. You don't think rust with them is a factor at all?
With the Niners?
Yeah.
I do not.
Okay.
Not in the case. I don't know. They just have too much talent. Not that the Ravens don't. The Ravens are different to me where, like, if this was the Browns the Ravens were facing, I think we'd all be expecting maybe an ugly matchup, but, a true playoff feeling. Not that this isn't going to have it, but the Texans have played back-to-back playoff games, and I think they are going to come in a sort of rhythm against the Ravens, whereas the Packers, they won, but
playoff games.
True. Yeah, they kind of did too as well. But, I mean, Dallas just wasn't ready to play. The Niners all around, I think, are still the best team, especially that offense. You got McCaffrey, you got Debo, you got Kittle, you got Ayuk. You just got so many weapons. And they've been planning out that game script for 2 weeks for Shanahan. That thing's going to run to perfection. Like, they're going to score on their first drive, right? And it's not going to be a field goal either. So I could see them getting up 14-3 quick, something like that. So I don't know. It would be a tough task for the Packers to keep this competitive, I believe. And if they can, I mean, they're probably the real deal already if they can compete with the Niners on that level. What do y'all think? Tim, what do you think?
Tim, you go next.
I think no matter what, the 49ers are going to be more prepared than the Cowboys were. So at least that it's going to be a better game.
By default,
yeah.
By default, right?
I think at worst, if the Packers do come out and play a really good first half and it's within a score, the 49ers will at least make some second half adjustments that work. The Cowboys didn't do anything. They just gave up. It was just gone. So I do favor the 49ers 100%. I do see a world where the Packers can win. They would just take like a perfect game like last week. Like last week, they literally played a perfect game, almost on both half of the football. I'm not going to pick them to win.
True.
I think they were really well coached, and they're going to hang a little bit. I'm going to take it like 49ers 34-26. Make it within one score at late, but really it's like a 2-score game mostly through the fourth quarter.
For a second, I thought you were going to say someone's dropping 49, and then you add the ers, and I was like, oh, you got someone dropping almost 50 in a prediction? Okay. Branndon, you're good.
The Packers just dropped 48, didn't they?
You wouldn't have predicted it, though.
Obviously, I think San Francisco is going to win. I think I've been going back and forth on this all week. I think I agree with Tim. I think Green Bay. There is a world where Green Bay can win this game. It's got to be lightning in a bottle again for them. Jordan Love's got to play a perfect game. Aaron Jones has to pop off for 150, maybe 125. Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, all those guys are going to have to get open and help Jordan Love out. But I think San Fran has way too much on offense. Going back to what you said, Kyle, with McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and George Kittle, there's too much. And then their offensive line on top of that. So I don't think Green Bay is going to be able to keep up with San Francisco. I think San Francisco is going to get up pretty early, and I think at that point they're just going to coast. I think it's going to be a 42-28 game.
Ooh, you guys all have high-scoring games. I actually have the Packers winning this game. I very much do. I have all the reasons why I feel it. It's not just something I'm throwing out there. I think the Packers are taking the ball first. I do think the Packers can run on the 49ers. They've averaged, over the last 6 games, it's 5 yards a carry. We can see teams have been able to run on the 49ers. The 49ers, their last games, they obviously played the Rams. They sat their starters. Before that, they played a Cardinals team. They played a C game for them. They won 27-10. They played a C game. Before that, they played the Ravens. They got waxed. Those are their last games. Brock Purdy hasn't been playing well, hasn't really played a really good game in over a month. They haven't played a really meaningful good game in over a month, at least. That's 1. 2, the Packers have the better quarterback. I'm here to say it now. It's not really that much of a on limb. They have the better quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan, I think this game's close. Kyle Shanahan doesn't coach well if they have any sort of deficits, second half, especially in the fourth quarter. Those games are really his to lose. I think Brock Purdy feels pressure early, and the Packers are playing as carefree as possible. Aaron Jones, every time he gets over 20 carries in a game, the Packers are 5-0. Over the last 4 games, it's been averaging 130 yards per game from scrimmage. Last week, he had 3 touchdowns. Over the last 6 weeks, the Packers are averaging 29 points. 49ers are averaging 30. So they can keep up with them offensively, defensively, in the secondary. I do think if you're not getting home, that the Packers will be able to move the ball on them. So I have the Packers winning this game 28-24.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you see at any point the Niners getting up 8 to 10 points?
No.
At no point.
No,
You see
because
them playing from behind the entire game?
I see. If they get up 2 possessions, I don't think they'll win. I don't think they'll lose. So if the 49ers, unless it's super early and then they lay off the gas pedal and then it gets close late, but I wouldn't project that. I think the same way he took the ball first, if he wins the coin toss, he's taking the ball first to get up 7-0, to let the 49ers know we are here. I understand the 49ers are absolutely not the Cowboys, which is why this isn't going to be a rout by any means. This will be a very close game. But, we've seen teams come in hot before, and I do think that the 49ers are going to be a little rusty. I think Christian McCaffrey will be fine, but obviously I don't think you can Christian McCaffrey your way only to a win. I think Brock Purdy is going to need to make some throws. And I don't think he's going to make all of them.
All right. I got a response to that. I'll let Branndon and Tim respond after, but my main response would be the Niners aren't the Cowboys. I just don't see them allowing Jordan Love to just sit back all day and complete whatever he wants, to dictate what they're doing on defense. Jordan Love is definitely, like you said, he's probably the better quarterback, but I can't see him dictating the matchup that much, being that much of a force. I don't see their defense, the Packers defense, I don't see them keeping up with the Niners at all, especially when it comes to those first 2 drives, especially when it comes to that first half. I think the best path to victory for the Packers would be a track meet where you're just going back and forth and you just happen to get the ball last. I think that would be their best case scenario. I definitely don't see any world where they hold the Niners under 25 points. That would be tough to me. If that's true, they should go to the Super Bowl. I'll say that right now. If what you said comes true, Packers should go to the Super Bowl. I'll say this before I let Branndon and Tim go. We had a bet at the beginning of the season, regular season wins. I won that. I don't think I got 100 losses this year, which is crazy. That's more good luck than anything. That's just shit luck, really. Do you want to make a bet on this game? Niners Packers? You strong in your convictions with the Pack?
Well, it depends how much we're betting, honestly.
I mean, that's up to you. How confident are you in the Packers?
I'll bet 20.
20? Let's go 25. Let's go a quarter.
25 is fine.
All right, let's do that. We'll go
25 is fine.
25
Absolutely. And
$25
obviously I'm
confident.
not saying the 49ers have couldn't win this game. Of course they could win this game. They're the 1 seed for a reason. But I do think that the hot team does matter. I think that when you get a team that's rolling, Matt LaFleur is calling great games. I mean, the defense has been playing better over the last few weeks. They've been averaging Packers have allowed about 23 points a game over the last 7 weeks. They're 5-2 in that stretch. They've played 2 playoff teams. Over that same stretch, the 49ers have allowed 21. They've played 2 playoff teams. Their record's 5-1. These teams have been very equivalent over the last 6 weeks. If you're talking statistically, I understand that you do have Debo, you do have Ayuk, you do have obviously Brock Purdy, Kittle. But also Christian Watson's a player that last year we thought would project into at least top 20 receiver. This year he got hurt. Jaden Reed's been a big piece for them. They still have Romeo Doubs, who last week we saw had a big game. Dontavius Wicks they have. Bo Melton can catch the ball when needed to. And Aaron Jones is one of the most talented backs in the league. They have a very good offensive line, especially in the pass blocking there. They have 2 solid tight ends. They're not George Kittle, of course, but they have 2 solid tight ends that can get the job done when they need to, and Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. I just think that this Packers team has enough offensively, and then defensively, they do have enough pieces to get a stop here and there. Their defensive line's actually pretty decent. They have Jair Alexander in the back. So
I don't have that much faith in their defense. I'm interested to hear what y'all think.
Timmy, you had your hand up.
So
Sound like a teacher.
yeah, right.
No, I just saw like this. He was like,
Well, you mentioned Jair Alexander. Is he playing? He did not participate in practice yesterday.
I thought what I saw was he was trending towards playing. Okay. But I could be wrong.
On the 17th, he was DNP. Didn't practice.
I thought he was trending towards playing. He's just still questionable. Okay. But I thought that I could be wrong.
My only question is, how many stops do you think the 49 or the Packers defense gets? I see a world where the 49ers punt once or twice in this game, and that might even be late.
Stops 2, 3, turnovers 1 or 2. I could see Brock Purdy turning the ball over. Even
if they punt 3 times and they turn it over 3 times, I could still see a world where the 49ers are sitting at 28 points. And I don't think you're winning if you're letting them score 28.
But I do think the Packers could get to 31. They don't turn the ball over at this point. Jordan Love 24 touchdowns to 1 pick over his last 9 games. They right now don't turn the ball over. Matt LaFleur's done a phenomenal job with them.
He's hot and he's been playing hot, but we've seen him fall apart. We've seen him do nothing. So I think there's a good chance that happens this weekend because they're actually playing a formidable opponent here. This could be a good game. You were talking about a team getting hot. Last year, the Cowboys beat the Bucs in the wild card 31-14, and then they barely competed with the Niners the next week. I think that's more likely to happen. This could even be a low-scoring game.
The Niners weren't coming off of a bye. The Niners weren't coming off a bye and a terrible loss and then an okay win and then another loss.
They didn't have a bye last year?
No, the Eagles had a bye. They were coming off a win against Seattle where Brock Purdy played very well, and then they beat the Cowboys. So
I think that bye week makes them more dangerous to me as far as Shanahan. The way we used to talk about, you give Belichick 2 weeks or you give Andy Reid 2 weeks. I think Shanahan's in that class too. You give him 2 weeks to plan his first half script. That's dangerous. He's going to find every hole. If McCaffrey can run, I think that's the ball game to me. If he can get you 4 or 5 yards of carry, which he's most likely going to be able to do, that makes Purdy's job so much easier as far as Kittle, as far as Ayuk, as far as Debo, as far as getting balls downfield, as far as even McCaffrey in the swing game or the screen game. I just think they have way too many weapons. If the Packers had a better defense, Keenan, I'd be right with you. I just don't think they have the horses on defense the way a Dallas would. I mean, it's funny we're talking about Dallas here because they're the most unprepared team, but that's where I'd give Dallas a chance is, okay, they can at least force you. They at least got playmakers and ball hawks, but not saying the Packers don't, but not to the level that the Cowboys do. I don't know. We'll get to the other NFC game. I don't want to spoil anything. Obviously, I got the Niners going to the Super Bowl, but I don't know. I agree with you. The Packers are going to score. I'm going to let Branndon go because I've talked a lot about this game, but I think the Packers are going to score. But to beat the Niners, it's a lot.
I think I have questions. I do have questions with Green Bay's defense. Obviously, they played a really good game last week. I'll give that to them, and that was why I said I kind of flipped back and forth on this all week, especially with how the Dallas game was. I will give Green Bay some credit. That the score was a little vindictive of what actually happened. Once Green Bay kind of took all their defensive players out, and that's when Dallas kind of really started kicking it into gear into offense. But my issue with Joe Barry's defense is that I don't know if you're going to be able to string together a ton of stops. Like, they have a decent pass rush. They have Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Preston Smith. Like, you've got a good pass rush. But my question is, if you don't get pressure on Brock Purdy and you can't force turnovers, you don't get stops and sacks and whatever, or put San Francisco behind the chains, and I think it's going to make life very tough. My other question is, too, covering McCaffrey on the back. Green Bay, Quay Walker's a pretty good linebacker. Devondre Campbell's pretty good, but I don't think those guys or even Darnell Savage or, anybody else can really stay with McCaffrey. And then, you'd have to assume that Jair plays. Jair's probably going to be on Ayuk. Then, who covers Debo? Who's going to be shading Kittle? I think the Niners have too many matchup pieces to where Shanahan can really make it a chess match and say, okay, if you want to take Ayuk out of the game, then I'm going to pivot to Debo. If you want to take Debo out of the game, I'll go Ayuk, or you take both of them, I'll go Kittle and McCaffrey.
That all comes down to Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Because obviously, and so for me, it more so comes down to, I think that the Packers can get pressure on the 49ers. They can get up. I think they can get up early, and if they can get up early and put pressure on the 49ers and put pressure on Brock Purdy, then things can get interesting. Kind of like last week, but I just don't think that it becomes a debacle like last week. I just think it becomes a good game, but then when it gets tight in the fourth quarter, I just don't think there's any point in the game unless the Packers got up like 16 that they're stressing.
Mm-hmm.
I
do agree.
Even if it's like a 4-point game in the fourth, it's like, we're not supposed to be here. We're just going to go out and roll. And the 49ers we're supposed to be Super Bowl favorites, and we'll see how it happens. And maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, then I'll come on Monday's podcast and be like, I was dead wrong. That's fine with me. But this is just what I believe with facts, my facts to, I think, bolster it. But
Last question before we move on to the other NFC matchup. You mentioned pressure. What about Chase Young, Joey Bosa on the Niners side?
Javon Hargrave, too.
Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence did not get any pressure on him. And I understand.
Micah gets tackled. Let me just say this. Mike, I meant to say this last week or on Monday. Micah gets tackled on damn near every play, it seems like. He gets help. He gets the Gronk treatment.
He gets the way he rushes too, and I know there's like a weird rule behind that. Like, they showed something. It was like a weird rule I've never seen before. I can't even think about it right now. But yes, I understand you have Chase Young and you have Nick Bosa. They don't do too many stunts, so it's really going to just be, can your left tackle hold up? Can your right tackle hold up? The Packers are a good pass blocking offense, so it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. If Nick Bosa and Chase Young can get home, if Brock Purdy can get a bunch of pressure, then what your guys' outcome is can completely come true. But if I think that the Packers pass rush can get home from time to time for sure, and I do think that they'll be able to keep Jordan Love clean. And if that's the case, Matt LaFleur is shown to be, like a Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds. He's been coaching up this team, and they have a lot of young talent.
last thing I'll say before we move on. Shanahan's owned that matchup. He's owned that LaFleur matchup. And they used to be on like 3 separate coaching staffs, so that's just a no. The next game though, Tampa Bay, surprisingly, going to Detroit for the NFC Championship, for a berth in the NFC Championship. As of this moment right now, I have no idea what my pick is. I'm very interested to hear what you three have to say about this game. I'll throw it out to the dais. I'll lay it up for y'all. Whoever wants to take it first, give me your prediction because I'm very interested.
Either Branndon or Tim. Take one of them.
All right, I'll go ahead.
Tim looked nervous.
I'm picking Tampa Bay to win this game.
Oh, shit. Are you allowed to do that as a Jaguars fan?
I don't know if I am or not.
He stays Florida.
Yeah, I'm going with the team 2 hours down south from me. I think Tampa Bay is going to win. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be very, very, very close. Detroit's a good team. Obviously, they like to run the ball. And Jared Goff is not a slouch at quarterback at all. I think he's kind of busted that game manager label that he had years ago in LA. But I think with how Baker Mayfield's playing right now, which is crazy to say because a couple years ago, Baker Mayfield was, especially in Carolina, looked like he was on his way out of the NFL. Detroit's pass defense is not very good at all. And I think Los Angeles exposed that last week with Puka, and Cooper Kupp didn't really get involved. But you've got Chris Godwin, you've got Mike Evans, Cade Otton, Rashad White is a heck of a receiver out of the backfield. I think Tampa's going to be able to put up points. I don't trust Detroit's defense. Detroit's defense comes and goes as Aiden Hutchinson comes and goes. If Hutchinson's getting pressure on the quarterback, then their defense plays pretty well. They also have other guys. They got Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, people like that. And then I think defensively, Tampa Bay stops the run. That's always been a thing about Todd Bowles' defense is they stop the run really, really well. And I understand Detroit has a pretty good O-line. You could say probably top 2, top 3 O-line in the NFL. I just think Tampa Bay is going to be ready. I think they're going to get up for this game, and I think they win in a close one. I think it's going to be a 24-21 game, Tampa Bay.
Ooh, you got Tampa Bay Niners. Tim, you got Niners versus who? You've been big on the Lions all year. You had the Rams upsetting them last week. You and I were both on the same page there. I'm honestly surprised that the Lions do end up winning that game and hosting this game. So what do you got, Tim?
I was thinking about this game earlier, and I was confused on which way I'd go. I do think it is going to be a close game. The way I am going to pick this is, would I choose the Rams to beat the Bucs? And yes, I would. So I'm going to go with the Lions because of that. I agree that the Bucs should be able to pass on the Lions, but 100% the Bucs are not as good of a passing team as the Rams were, and the Rams got pretty much shut down in the second half. Both teams kind of shut down in the second half, but we didn't see them really pass as well in the second half. And if they are able to limit the Bucs passing wise, then I don't think they're going to be able to run on them with Rashad White. So I'm going to go Lions. I'll give it like 28-21. I think it'll be a good game, one-score game. I think the Lions they just have a better offense. They can run. They got both of their running backs are better than the running attack on Tampa Bay. So especially if they go and just control the game, time of possession, they could completely dominate. And I'm not that much of a fan of Todd Bowles as a head coach. So.
Alrighty.
Got you there.
So I have the Lions in this game. I think it's going to be close. I have it 31-27 along those lines. The key to last week, obviously there was a couple penalties here and there. Puka got going. I think it was 9 for $182 and a touchdown. Matt Stafford was throwing the ball over the lot. But like we've seen, Kyle, you and I, Patriots defenses was a bend but don't break. They only allowed 3 in the red zone. The red zone efficiency from the Rams was not great, and that was really what lost them the game because they were able to move the ball up and down the field, but they weren't able to put that into touchdowns. The Bucs red zone efficiency, I believe they're bottom 3 in the league. I think it's like 44%. Aiden Hutchinson last week was 2 sacks, 7 pressures, 30% pressure rate. I believe he can do more of the same this week. As you're saying, that this defense comes and goes with Aiden Hutchinson, and right now he's playing at all pro level over these last few weeks. He's really ramped it up from kind of where the midseason where they were going a little up and down. Offensively, you can throw on the Bucs for sure. And they do have a rushing game. Jahmyr Gibbs can catch the ball out of the backfield. Sam Laporta didn't look 100%, but him being there is still a threat. Amon-Ra St. Brown, all pro. He's the best receiver going to be on that field, even Mike Evans is there. I do think it's 31-27. I trust Jared Goff a touch more than Baker, even though Baker's playing at a very high level.
Brandon, what was your final score?
24-21.
Damn, so you got a low scoring. Tim's kind of got an intermediate. Keenan, you got more of a shootout. Where I'm struggling with this game is the Bucs. Like last week, Mike Evans had a terrible game. He had drops all over.
Yep.
But in general, like if he's rolling, this is a very effective pass offense. And this is kind of why I picked the Eagles last week, even though like I half-heartedly believed it. It's you don't really know what kind of Bucs team's showing up, right? They lost or they beat the Panthers the week before 9-0 to get into the playoffs. But they looked much better last week. And I think it's going to be closer to what Keenan says. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I would lean towards the Lions, right? Here's my thing. The Lions are a fucking cursed franchise just like the Cowboys. Like if they were going to lose, it would be in a situation where it's on a silver platter for them, where they got a red carpet to the NFC Championship Game, and you get the Bucs who ain't supposed to be there with Baker Mayfield. And my thing with the Bucs that makes them so challenging for me, I said you don't know which team's showing up, but when the good one shows up, like I was saying to you earlier, Keenan, Baker Mayfield, he's not afraid of it. He's been in playoff games. Todd Bowles has been in decently big games. That whole offense, their core and some of their defense, been in the Super Bowl, right? They've been in seasoned games, right? Bulls defense, though, they play really sound defense. Like, I was very impressed with them on Monday night. Granted, the Eagles aren't anything to even take seriously at this point, but you can tell fundamentally, like, their defense really does play hard, plays well. They beat the ball carrier to the spot, that sort of thing. So I could see them giving Goff and the Lions problems. I really almost want to pick the Bucs. I do. At this moment, I really still have no idea who the fuck I'm picking. Like I'm scared to death of this game. Damn, I want to see a Lions matchup. Check this out. I'm rooting for the Lions. I'm picking the Bucs. I'm gonna go, Keenan. I'm gonna go same score as you, 31-27, Tampa Bay. But I'm rooting for the Lions. I really am. But I think this is where it ends.
I just want to quickly say this because I didn't go through these. Obviously, Ravens favored by 9.5. The 49ers are favored by 9.5. The Jorts favored by 6.5. Just wanted to put those out there. And we're going to segue into this last game. Timmy, I'll let you start first, but the Chiefs are 2.5-point underdogs. Bills favored at home. That game is looking like it's going to be not the greatest weather. I don't think it's going to be snowing, but I believe it's going to be windy. Timmy, what is your thoughts on this game? I'll check and get like a definitive weather on that.
I was actually kind of impressed by the Chiefs. I wasn't expecting them to score 26 points, but when the Dolphins pretty much just give the ball back to them every single offensive possession, eventually the points are going to rack up there. They were stopped in the red zone quite often, only 2 touchdowns of those points. So they're going on the road. Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game. It's kind of a big deal. And you know, guys, I'm pretty high on the Bills this year. I'm going to pick the Bills 100%. They're the better offense right now, and their defense has been playing well. So score. I think this could be a lower scoring game. Let me get it like 21-16.
I'm
Brandon,
going to piggyback
Oh,
off
sorry,
of Tim.
no, sorry, Tim. No, sorry, Kyle. Tim to Kyle.
Because he and
Brandon
I both
me.
have the Bills going to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And I see a very similar game to what he just described, which is crazy because the Bills seem to continuously get banged up on defense. But if the weather's not the greatest, and I mean, I've been talking about it all season. I don't love this Chiefs offense. Like, I think they can get field goals on this Bills team. I really don't know if they'll be able to score. I think they get like 2 touchdowns, but I don't think they'll be able to get more than 2 touchdowns. Like 2's at the max, you know? And Kelsey just hasn't looked great. I obviously, like I just said, I have the Bills going to the Super Bowl. I'm going to pick the Bills, but if you're going to bet this game, I'd be all over the Chiefs. I really would. 2-point underdog. They've got more rest. If it's going to be a bad weather game, if it's going to be windy, that all leans towards the Chiefs. Thing is, we really haven't seen ever Mahomes on the road in a playoff game. And the Josh Allen, I would say he might not be playing better decision-making wise, but he's definitely playing more explosive than Mahomes. And that's got to count for something. I don't know if Gabe Davis is going to be back for this game. Anyone know about that?
He's dead. I personally think he's going to be. I know he's been limited, if not out of practice, so he's really day-to-day questionable. But the Chief Killer probably will want to play in this one. This is one of those ones. No, this is one of those ones he's going to want to play in. And just before you finish, Kyle, 21 degrees, 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, mostly cloudy. So shouldn't be any showers, but the wind shouldn't be too crazy. And if there's going to be 2 quarterbacks you'd want to throw the ball in the wind, it would be these 2.
So that everything aside from the rest that you just said, Keenan, lends itself to the Bills. Because if it was like terrible weather, the Chiefs can run the ball. And that's still going to be the case in this game. I think they will be able to live in the red zone essentially, but I don't think they're going to be able to score. I'm going to say 24-18 Bills. I do think it's lower scoring. I do think the Bills take care of business. Not as confident as I would have been had they, just played last Sunday afternoon. But hey, if it's their year, it's their year. And I got the Lions choking. I picked them to choke. The Bills live to see another day as far as the cursed franchises go. So Bills 24-18. Keenan, what you got?
Actually, I'm going to let Branndon go first, and then I'll go last.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm going to pick Buffalo. I feel like this is one of those games where it could really go either way. It feels to me it's hard to count out Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, even with how bad the offense is. I do agree with you, Kyle. I think Travis Kelce's starting to show his age. He's definitely hit a pretty steep decline. And, I mean, Rashee Rice is a pretty nice receiver. He's definitely – I think he went off for 8 catches and like 130 yards and a touchdown last week.
Yep.
He's good, but outside of those 2 guys, besides Pacheco, in terms of offense and wide receiver, you really don't have much. You got Kadarius Toney and MVS and Justin Watson.
I trust Justin Watson the next. It's literally it would go Rashee Rice, pass catcher, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. Next is Justin Watson, honestly.
Bam.
And then
real quick,
go on.
Real quick to you two, to Keenan and Branndon. Is Kadarius Toney like NFL J.R. Smith?
No, because J.R. Smith at least has peaks.
Yeah, J.R. Smith has pretty good feet.
Because Tony was explosive in the Super Bowl. Like when Tony's good, it's explosive.
Yeah,
but when it's bad, it's all bad.
I guess it'd be late career JR where like he can give you one of those like 7-3 games and then next time run the ball away from the hoop when he could put it up so you have to go to overtime. So I mean essentially, yeah. But
or maybe Nick Young. Maybe Nick Young.
Swaggy P is definitely more. Yeah, Swaggy P. That is because Kadarius Toney going across the middle, ball literally volleyballing it up and then letting people pick it off. It's the same as Swaggy P thinking he can shoot a 3, turn around and miss. So Swaggy P is the guy. But Branndon, go on.
I think Kansas City has a great defense, but I think Buffalo has a little bit too much on offense. I think Stephon Diggs is going to get taken out of the game by L'Jarius Sneed. And the way with Buffalo's played, they've kind of spread the wealth a little bit. So Diggs hasn't been as big as a focal point as he was under Ken Dorsey. They've got Chief Killer, Gabe Davis. Khalil Shakir is coming out in a nice way as a third option, at receiver. 17-yard touchdown he had last week was pretty awesome, him bouncing off tacklers.
Yeah.
They've got 2 good tight ends, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, and then James Cook as well, too. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it comes down to who can get a couple more stops, and I trust Buffalo a little bit more to get more stops, and then I also trust them a little bit more on offense. I think Buffalo wins this one 21-17.
So I'm going to start this off by saying I don't know who I'm picking quite yet. I'm going to get it there. Before, like, predictions always, when we're talking about predictions, Kyle, and we do our bold predictions before, my favorite thing to do in the NFL is to say Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers is having a terrible game. Then when it gets to it, I don't know if I can say that. And my favorite thing in the NBA is to be like, LeBron's going to have like a 10-point game. And then it's like game 7. I'm like, I can't really bet against this guy. This guy's really too good. So as much as I would want to see like Mahomes throws like a 3-pick game and play terrible, I actually could never think that that's going to I really bet that to happen. I say that because if you told me this game was somehow 42-38 either team, I'd be like, you know what? Mahomes brought like, I don't know, the monster power came to like I don't know what happened, but like they can catch finally. This game's tough because Josh Allen didn't throw a pick last game, didn't turn the ball over, so kudos to him. But he's
due for 1 or 2 or 5.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. He's due for 1. Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed's one of the probably like the 3 or 4 best corner combos in the league. They've really become that. That defense is together. Chris Jones is playing good football. They've got a lot of people. They've been there. They've done that. They've played this Bills team before, Divisional Round AFC Championship Game. They just haven't done it on the road. But again, then offensively, like, this game to me is going to come down to Travis Kelce. Can Travis Kelce have one of those Gronk-style games where, like, he looks not good and then he just goes out there and he has, like, 110? Because they're going to need that. Rashee Rice is going to get what he gets, but they need Travis Kelce to be all-pro, all-world Travis Kelce. My head's saying Buffalo because my head's saying Buffalo because it makes sense. But then I'm thinking to myself, like, he's not at that level yet because no one's Brady. But like the same way, I'm like, I can't really bet against Brady in anything. Like I almost like I can't.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to.
Can you seem like you're really struggling with
this? I really am. I'm going Chiefs 27-24. Oh my! I don't even feel confident in it.
Damn.
Going Chiefs 27-24.
Can they get to 27?
If Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, yes, because they got the 26 last week, and Travis Kelce dropped what should have been a touchdown, and Travis Kelce dropped multiple balls. If Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce, they can get to 27 and they can win this game. If Travis Kelce is still Taylor Swift, then they cannot get to. Then they will not be able to win this game. It really comes down to Travis Kelce. I'm putting faith in Travis. I really am, and I'm 51-49 on this. I really am. I don't even.
So I mean, we went family pick on Baltimore. We swept there. Keenan went contrarian on us with the Packers over the Niners. Other than that, it went 3-1. We split on the Buccaneers and Lions. Then Keenan's going contrarian here. Everyone's on the Bills. For me, with the Bills here, it's like if not now, then when? It's like Peyton Manning early on in his career with Brady. He eventually got there, and as much as like I said, like
took an I think it was an overtime game that like
it wasn't over.
He came back and like it was one of those games where he shouldn't have won it, but it took that. But yeah,
they outplayed the Pats in that second half. They came back, absolutely. But I mean, this one, like the Bills just got all the advantages aside from the defense, and it's cold weather, and the Chiefs can run. So like 3 out of 4 of us do have a low scoring in the Bills' favor. And I think if the Chiefs were to win, it would also have to be low scoring. I just can't imagine if the Bills get to 27, using your score as a base, Keenan. If the Bills were the ones to get to 27, I can't imagine the Chiefs getting to even 28. Like I just can't imagine it. And 25 would even be tough. But at the same time, if Pacheco turns into, goddamn Marshawn Lynch or Marshall Faulk out there, there's a path. And guess what? If it's 2017 with 6 minutes to go, and the Chiefs are up, Bills might get a little tight. I'm not saying Josh Allen's going to get tight, but that state.
If the Chiefs
are down,
like the thing about it is like you're right, but the Chiefs are a team somehow that's playing semi with nothing to lose. If the Chiefs lose this year, it makes sense. They won the Super Bowl last year. It's not like they have to win it every single season or else like life is going to – we know teams can't win it every single season. That's the goal, but they're not winning it every season. The Bills finally have – sorry, I'm just saying. Bills finally have a home game. They were playing the Chiefs. They got them where they want them. And this is the biggest game of Josh Allen's career, and I understand he played in an AFC Championship game. Don't care. This is the biggest game of his career. At home versus your rival, a team that's beat up on you in the playoffs. Can you do it?
All right, let me ask you all this. Tim, we kind of alluded to it in our picks last week. Obviously, there was shitty weather, unbelievable weather, honestly, in that Chiefs-Dolphins game. So let me just throw out a hypothetical. Let's say we go back in time, Chiefs-Dolphins at Arrowhead, but it's 50 degrees, right? Not too cold, not too warm at all. It's just 50 degrees. Tim, what would you have picked that game?
I still would have picked the Bills, to be honest. But
no, Chiefs-Dolphins last week.
Oh, my bad. That game I would have definitely picked the Chiefs, but it would have been like 24-21. It would have been way more competitive. Yeah. I think it's definitely hard to play in the cold, but it's not like they're playing in the wind where they literally can't throw the football. They were just They were just miscues. Like Tua missed plenty of throws. The offense just didn't work, and that wasn't because it was cold. That was just because they played bad.
Because I think if that game's 50 degrees, me personally, I probably would have went with the Dolphins.
I can see it.
Just what they can bring on offense, just how inept the Chiefs have been. So that's kind of like why I'm looking at it this way in this game. But how do you guys feel about that too? If it's 50 degrees last week, would you guys have been confident in the Dolphins? Would you guys have been more confident in the Chiefs?
My thing with the Dolphins is that like they just don't show up against good teams. Like they never did it. It didn't matter. Like it didn't matter if Tua was on his A game, if Tyreek went for 150 yards. Like they just do not show up against good teams. And I think part of the reason is because of Tua. I think I still would have had Kansas City winning that game. Like especially with it being an Arrowhead. Like it's just because it's so hard to trust Tua.
Got you.
Even last week, like I think it was like the 50+ yard touchdown pass that he had to Tyreek. Tyreek had to literally loop back around and come back to catch the ball. And if you're throwing that to pretty much any other receiver in the NFL outside of maybe a select few, that's not a touchdown. That just goes to show how good Tyreek is. Mm-hmm. I think 50, 60 degree weather, I still think Kansas City probably would have won.
Okay.
I have Kansas City winning that game because the Chiefs, I can't picture them getting blown out, and that's the only way the Dolphins could beat them. If they're close, I'm not trusting Tua over. I don't think Tua could orchestrate a 24-20 in Arrowhead 80-yard drive for a touchdown. I couldn't see it. I have to see it to believe it. And I don't think the Chiefs would get blown out. That would be the only route to the Chiefs losing that game. I would have probably picked Kansas City in the 24-17-ish range. Tyreek Hill pretty much doing what he did, just maybe a couple more catches and a few more yards. But I mean, the first game that they played was kind of in that same vein. They won, I think, 21-17 it was. So yeah, I would have had it around there. But honestly, Kyle, to your point of what you're asking right now, I think if I would have – the Chiefs win last week, it didn't shock me, but their offense did look more cohesive, so it gave me a touch more confidence in them, but it wasn't anything where I'm like, oh, my God, they can go do whatever. So I think if you told me this game was last week, I would have probably picked Buffalo over Kansas City. But I think this 1 week and the fact of the matter that this game, just the pressure that's on them, and now the divisional round in your house, it's really interesting. This is my most excited game of maybe going to be the playoffs other than possibly the Super Bowl.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
This is one of those games.
Yeah.
It feels like, and it seems like we actually get this once a year now because the divisional matchups are so good that you get like a mini NFC Championship or mini AFC Championship in the divisional round with the quality of teams. So
like last year, Buffalo and Cincinnati, that was like two teams where you're like, okay, both of those teams could be in the Super Bowl. Like, who's going to win? Mm-hmm. And obviously, I'm glad he's healthy now, but the first time it was the DeMar Hamlin game, so we didn't even really get to see the game play out in its entirety. So it was like, who's really the better team? And it's in Buffalo, and Cincinnati showed to be the better team last year.
I think the one thing about Kansas City, my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off, Kyle.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
I think the thing with Kansas City this year, it's like it makes it so hard to bet against them because like this is the best defense they've ever had in the Patrick Mahomes era by far. I mean, it's not even close. It just, I really think if they had a tick better of an offense, I don't think it would even be a question of who wins. You know, it just, I don't know, it feels so wrong picking against Patrick Mahomes, but. Nah, I don't know. It's definitely it's going to be a good game.
It took Tom Brady for me to pick against confidently.
The reason why I brought up Miami on a cleaner weather day, and you guys kind of threw out scores too, like lower scoring, but not really a decisive Chiefs win, maybe like we had last week in a cold weather game, is because how much, and again I'm harping on this, but how much the receivers cannot get open. Right, so we would have had Miami, who's more banged up than Buffalo, and Buffalo's pretty damn beat up on defense. I know I said like I would be betting the Chiefs, but man, the more I'm thinking about it, and the more I'm talking about it, it's all set up for the Bills. And I agree with Branndon when he says like, if the Chiefs had any weapons at all, then like yeah, you would pick Mahomes. But I don't know. It seems like it's all on the table for the Bills. Again, minus the rest factor, 2 extra days or whatever the Chiefs had. You know that is going to play some sort of role. And to some degree, it almost shouldn't matter when you're at this point in the playoffs, but of course it will. But at least they're at home. But it's super intriguing to me with that because this is, like Branndon said, this is the Chiefs' best defense of the Mahomes era, best run game of the Mahomes era, which is stuff you need in January football. But the Bills are just more explosive. And but to Keenan's point too, Allen didn't turn the ball over last week. He's due for a couple. I mean, that could very well be the swing of the game. Hey, Allen's been lights out in the postseason.
This is reminiscent of if the Chiefs do win this game and they are able to get farther in the playoffs, this would be reminiscent of the 2018 Patriots run, especially when they went into Arrowhead in a game they should the more explosive team. We just had the better defense, the better rushing attack, and then obviously that to Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. But the closest thing of the modern era to Bill Belichick and Tom Brady is Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So
that's a loaded statement that I'm not going to reply to right now.
Kyle, I never said it was.
I know
the
what
closest thing. I mean, that's three Super Bowl appearances and 2 Super Bowls in 5 seasons. It's going to be the 6th. So I understand they're not Bill Belichick. They're not Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the GOAT, and it's not a question to me. Bill Belichick's the GOAT. It's not a question. Rob Gronkowski's the GOAT tight end. Not a question. Anyone who says.
I'm saying it's a loaded statement. That's all. I can't 100% co-sign it, but I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, I'm just saying the closest thing is, but it's not there. Like the closest thing to Michael Jordan was Kobe Bryant. Kobe wasn't Mike, so that kind of thing.
It's kind of like a little hint.
If you know what I mean, like Kobe. The only thing Kobe did better than Mike, in my opinion, was dunk. Literally, Mike did every other thing better, but Kobe's the closest thing we've seen to him.
We got to get a good hoops debate podcast. That would obviously, unfortunately, exclude Tim. We'd have to have Camden on or whoever else with the 3 of us, me, Branndon, and Keenan. But we can throw Tim in there for like highlights he's seen and shit. So Tim's got stuff to say. Yeah. Tim, by the way, I was thinking about this the other day because I was shooting at NVU the other day. I was thinking about the last time we played pickup, which was actually the last time we played pickup with Keenan. You shot like 95%. Like I don't think you missed a whole shot because it was all layups and like wide open jump shots. One of the more impressive pickup runs I've seen.
That stuff I'm good. You make me shoot a 3 or a mid-range, I'm not there. But open layups, getting rebounds, I'm all about it.
Yeah, as I was saying, Timmy from his track and field grind, he's got some jumping power. He can jump a little bit. He's got some legs on him. Big upper body, strong kid. So
Tim was like 22 or 24. Like over the course of like 3 hours or whatever we played, I don't remember him missing. Only made layups and like mid-range jump shots, like 12 to 18. Impressive. But so I've got what do I got? I got Niners, Bucks, and the NFC, and I got the Bills and Ravens in the AFC, which was my original pick.
Niners, Bucks, NFC sounds like a 2019-2020 script. You could have told me that was a Tom Brady versus the 49ers. It sounds like that year, not this year, but that'd be crazy. Just on the Bucks half, obviously, the 49ers could get there.
So what's everyone's championship game, just for review?
I have the NFC North in the Lions and the Packers.
Damn.
And then I have Baltimore and Kansas City in the
That'd be
AFC.
great. Wouldn't hate either one of those, obviously. Tim, what would you have?
I have Baltimore versus Buffalo in the AFC, and then I have the 49ers versus the Lions.
And then, Brandon, are you the same?
Yeah, I had
No, you have
Baltimore.
Bucks.
Yeah, Bucks and Niners. Yeah.
So you're,
I like all our matchups, hypothetically.
so you're the same as Kyle. You guys have 49ers, Bucks, and then you guys both have Ravens and Bills.
Yeah.
The only game that I wouldn't really love would be 49ers and Bucks, but then again, if the Bucks did get to there, they could you'd have to give them some sort of shot, but that'd be the only game I wouldn't love.
That's probably the worst possible matchup.
That's the worst matchup.
Yeah.
Because obviously Packers,
Out of all
Lions,
games.
division, so that's already going to be good. Packers, Bucks, you got two offensive teams. San Francisco, Detroit, those two of the three best teams in the NFC this season. And then anything in the AFC is fine. Like if Houston got there, I'm loving it. If Lamar gets knocked out, I'm hoping for a Packers-Texans Super Bowl because I think first-year starter Love versus first-year starter Stroud would be electric for me. That's what I'm hoping for if Lamar doesn't get there because I'm openly rooting for Lamar to win his first one.
I love C.J. Stroud, but seeing the Texans in the Super Bowl would hurt me so much. That would bring pain to a different level for me.
That's true. The first year. That would take a lot. That would be breaking every NFL mold if we got Jordan Love and Stroud in the Super Bowl.
God, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It would be nuts because it'd be the Bengals run on steroids because obviously it was Burrow's first full year as a starter. They get to the Super Bowl, but it'd be that just on steroids because one's a rookie and Burrow at least played like half the season before he broke. Cause like Jordan Love played like 2 games, so it'd be like that on steroids. It'd be crazy.
That would be like one of the first, if not the first, rookie quarterback to make the Super Bowl. I think. I can't think of.
Oh boy. I think so
That would
because I
definitely
think
be the first one.
I think it was because I think Purdy was on the verge of being the first one last year to get to the Super Bowl.
And then he had the elbow injury.
Yeah. So I think he would have been the first one. So yeah.
Hey, let's hear these lists.
Like a man.